I would like to first introduce Mark Gonzalez, who will speak and also be our moderator this morning. Mark has long been active in Democratic politics, leading the charge on some of the most important political victories in Southern California. He is currently chair of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, a position he has proudly held since October 2017. LACDP is the largest local Democratic Party in the country and one of the most influential, serving more than 3.1 million registered Democrats. Mark, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll kick it over to you.
Awesome. Good morning. Thank you so much, Zach. And good morning, sisters and brothers. Good morning, Democrats. Happy National Voter Registration Day. It's great to be with you all this morning, and so great to see so many familiar faces in support of our next mayor for the great city of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Folks, we're just 49 days away from Election Day and approximately 19 days away from ballots dropping in mailboxes for almost 2 million voters in the city of Los Angeles. And tomorrow night, we're going to be rooting on Karen as she takes center stage for the first time with her opponent. Of course, this isn't the first time one of our Democratic candidates has taken on a real estate billionaire who has changed parties with the wind. And we all experienced how that turned out. Here in Los Angeles and across our state, voters rejected the business type governing. Instead, we continue to welcome people-focused agendas that actually put families first, children and our workers first, to keep our city and our great state moving forward. That's what Democrats have always stood for. We believe in helping our neighbors in trouble. We believe in ensuring our coworkers aren't left behind and can put food on their table, that kids can go to schools where they can actually be themselves and where they can thrive, where women with their own doctors can make their own decisions, where immigrant is a part of our melting pot that is America. We believe in that village that it takes to raise a community. Over the past few months and decades, really, we have watched Republicans chip away at our American fundamental rights and our democracy. Through legislatures and the courts, Republicans have systematically gone after every marginalized group in our nation, leaving our most vulnerable even more vulnerable. In just 49 days, we're going to reject that up and down the ballot. And here in the city of Los Angeles, if we've learned anything from the last billionaire tycoon administration, we can't take anything for granted, folks. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Rick Caruso has shown us that he will and has used his money to support the radical right-wing agenda of Mitch McConnell and so many Republicans who have made it their mission to roll back our rights. You simply cannot call yourself a Democrat when you've hosted fundraisers for Mitt Romney, bankrolled anti-choice candidates and causes, and supported anti-worker legislation. That simply will not fly here in California and not here in Los Angeles. And let's be clear, like some of you, I just saw Rick's ad this morning calling himself a Democrat. Let's be clear, Karen Bass is the only Democrat endorsed by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and so many others. In fact, Rick didn't even seek our endorsement. How can you call yourself a Democrat and not even seek out the endorsement of the largest central committee in the nation, in your own backyard, in the very own city in which you are running for to be the mayor? That to me is preposterous and something that needed to be done. But we know with real Democrats leading in City Hall, Karen will continue to protect and uphold our basic values. Given the multiple crises in the city faces, we want someone who reflects our values to get people off the streets and into true affordable housing and supportive services that are needed. At this moment in LA's history, Karen Bass is the only candidate in this race who will address our city's problems because she has the experience with decisive action, vision, compassion that represents the majority of Angelenos. This is not the LA of the 1990s. but the LA of the 21st century. At this moment, we need a real Democrat in City Hall who will not just build to line their pocketbooks, but a Democrat who will continue to work and build for the people, by the people. Angelenos reminded us on primary night what kind of Los Angeles they wanted when they made Karen Bass our first choice. And in 49 days, she's going to be that winning choice. Today, myself, April, Kathy, Jordan, and so many others all stand united in our support for Karen to be the next mayor of the great city of Los Angeles. And with that, sisters and brothers, I'd like to introduce a friend, a sister, a colleague, the National SCIU Secretary Treasurer and Controller for the California Democratic Party, April Verrett. April?
Thank you so much, Mark. It's really great to be here with all of you all. I had to take a few minutes out of my day to join and lift up my voice in support of Karen Bass's run to be the next mayor of Los Angeles. I know that everyone's attention across the country is placed on the big ticket races, right? The so-called big races, the Senate, what's going to happen to the House, governor's races across the country. And even though this is a so-called down ballot race, there is no more important of a race that will have impact throughout our state and throughout our country as the race for LA's mayor. That is why the California Democratic Party is backing Karen Bass, the only real Democrat running for mayor in Los Angeles. And as women like me all across our city and our state and our country turn our attention to Rovember, as we in the party like to call it, Rovember, where we are able to lift up our voices and display our outrage at the senseless attack on the rights of women to make choices for ourselves. I would be remiss if I don't lift up that Karen Bass is the only pro-choice Democrat running for mayor of Los Angeles. Rick Caruso registered to be a Democrat just weeks before announcing his run for mayor. I don't know about you, but something about that stinks. And even though he tried to change his registration, he still couldn't cover up who he really is. Donald Trump's chief of staff has donated to his campaign. Kellyanne Conway praised the way he wants to address the homelessness crisis. Just last week, Fox News called him the GOP candidate and said that it was going to be hard for him to get elected in LA because so many Democrats are here. Look, I don't make it a habit of calling Fox News right about anything except being far, far right. But they told the truth as they see it. Rick Caruso is the GOP candidate. I've never said Rick Caruso will not be elected in LA. LA is a city that displays and is proud of our democratic values. We are proud to be in California, a democratic state. That's why the CDP is going all out in our support for Karen to be our next mayor. We are proud that she is an endorsed candidate by the county party here in Los Angeles and our state party. The CDP is committed to supporting Karen Bass's campaign for mayor of Los Angeles and communicating our support to the 1.2 million Democrats in our great city. We are going to do all that we can to stand with Karen on election night as she takes the mantle to be the next mayor, the first woman mayor of our great city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, April Verrett. And true. Thank you so much to the California Democratic Party and to you for your leadership, sister. And to kind of piggyback on your remarks, you are the company you keep. So thank you so much for highlighting that. I'd like to take the honor to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Kathy Unger, the chair of the Los Angeles Planned Parenthood Advocacy Project. Kathy.
Good morning. I'm chair of the Planned Parenthood Advocacy Project, Los Angeles County Action Fund. We were very proud to endorse Congresswoman Bass early in her campaign. And why did we do that? We did that because she has a long and very strong record of supporting women in the city of Los Angeles. She did that when she was in the legislature, and she's continued to do that in Congress. She has a record. Mr. Caruso does not have that same record. In fact, he has ignored the women of Los Angeles. Being pro-choice is action. It is not rhetoric. His record is very clear, and you should all know his record. He has supported, as was stated earlier, anti-choice candidates to the tune of almost $1 million. He has supported candidates who have put forth legislation to defund public health centers that provide reproductive services. And these reproductive services include defunding Planned Parenthood. He has supported candidates who have voted for Supreme Court justices that led to the Dobbs decision and the overturning of Roe v. Wade. As was said earlier, Rovember. We have challenged Mr. Caruso to explain his past and dangerous actions in supporting these anti-choice candidates and elected officials. He has repeatedly ignored our request to do so. I am here today, ahead of tomorrow's debate, to remind the people, all the people of Los Angeles, that there is only one pro-choice Democrat in the race, and that person is Congresswoman Karen Bass. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and for all of your leadership that you do in Los Angeles. It's women's rights are on the ballot in 49 days. And thank you so much for your leadership and making sure that those are protected, not just here in Los Angeles, but all across our great state and our nation. With that, another leader who is helping us here and is on Team Bass, I'd like to introduce Jordan Zaslow, the founder and executive director of Her Bold Move. Jordan?
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here. So proud to be supporting Karen Bass. She's the only pro-choice Democrat in this race. Like he said, I'm Jordan Zaslow. I'm the founder and executive director of Her Bold Move, an organization on a mission to shatter glass ceilings. And this position of mayor of LA is one of the most important glass ceilings in the state of California. Women's rights are under attack at all levels of government. Just last week, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham introduced legislation to impose strict federal restrictions on abortion access, even after saying they'd leave it up to the states. Temecula City Council member Jessica Alexander suggested at a meeting a week ago that Temecula's elected leaders discuss being a sanctuary city where abortions would be banned, which would go against state law. So the importance of this race could not be overstated. We cannot have a flip-flopper on this issue in office. The choice for us is clear in this race. I think the choice for anyone who cares about women's issues, who cares about abortion access, understands that Karen Bass is the candidate that will keep women safe in Los Angeles. Karen Bass is the candidate who will prioritize women's safety, health, and success in Los Angeles. Rick Caruso announced recently that he would appoint a deputy mayor to oversee women's issues in LA, and my team and I practically fell off our chairs when we saw that announcement. Women in LA deserve a mayor who will oversee their issues and their well-being herself. One candidate has been a Democrat her entire life, and one candidate was a Republican for more than 30 years. One candidate has fought for the rights of women her entire life, and one candidate has supported the same politicians that appointed justices that just overturned Roe v. Wade. The women of LA deserve someone we can trust. We know we can count on Karen Bass to protect our right to choose. And the women of Los Angeles will not be able to trust an anti-choice, literal Republican, Rick Caruso, to fight for our rights or to have the women's best interest at heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all. We have a few questions in the chat. The first one, and Mark, you touched on this a little bit in your remarks, but it's a request for a response to the advertisement that has started to air yet again from the Caruso campaign.
Sorry, Zach, is that the question?
Yeah.
Look, I think at the end of the day, we're seeing somebody who is a billionaire trying to buy the soul of Los Angeles. And I'm here to tell you that on election night in the primary, Los Angeles is not for sale. What we have to keep in mind is that we can't back down. We have to double down. And for me, being Latino, here in Los Angeles, and I saw some of the faces in that ad, calling himself an immigrant from Boyle Heights is just not reflective of what his campaign is about and what he is about. He talks about affordable housing in that ad. If you look at that ad and you think about the projects that he's done in Los Angeles, none of which are affordable housing. They are all in the thousands. And so I believe in you practice what you preach. Karen Bass has been elected to office and she's provided a decade of service, and someone as a social worker who has done that for her community. And Rick does not have a record of that, and Karen Bass does.
And we have a question from the Facebook Live about specifics in which Rick supported anti-choice causes. Kathy, are you able to take that one?
Yes, well, Jordan actually mentioned it as well. He has supported John Kasich. He has supported Kevin McCarthy. He has supported Mitch McConnell and many other people, Congress people who called for the banning of reproductive health clinics, and politicians who voted for justices who led to the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
And the final question we have here is about tomorrow night. Again, the first head-to-head mayoral debate. And it's a question for you, Mark. What do you expect from Mr. Caruso at the debate tomorrow night? What do you expect to see in general?
I think at the end of the day, you're going to have somebody who's going to go on stage, who's never been elected to office, who's going to criticize someone who has given over a decade of service to her community. And he's going to criticize the problems that this city faces. And he's going to criticize the work that Karen has done. Karen has a record, and that's what Rick is going to do. He's going to criticize her record, but we know that her record speaks for herself. She's got a vision and ideas and a bold way to protect Los Angeles and move this city forward. The progress that we have made, and she's going to do that. And he's going to try to criticize her on that, but it's easy to criticize someone when you've never been in that elected position. And he's not a real Democrat, and he's going to convince others that he is. But Karen Bass has relationships at the federal level, the local level, and that's something that we need in a mayor, and that's somebody that we will need representing Los Angeles on November the 8th.
And we got another question here in the chat. Is the fact that Caruso is trying to call himself a Democrat going to cloud the issue or confuse Democratic voters? That's from Ray Richardson.
Look, I think, and if my colleagues want to jump in here, at the end of the day, let's take this into consideration. Rick did not seek or apply for our endorsement. He just became a Democrat for convenience. And we know that is about for us. He never sought our endorsement. I'm the chair of the largest censure committee in the nation, the first Latino. He never sought our endorsement. The largest censure committee in the nation, representing 3.1 million Democrats. If LA County was a state, we'd be the 10th largest state in the nation. And to us, that was not taking into consideration the Democrats that are elected here in this city and giving them the consideration and the respect that we deserve here as Democrats. And so he walked into a room thinking he can buy his way into an election and buy his way into the party. And voters saw that in the primary, and we're going to see that again on election day.
I also think that being a Democrat means embracing certain values. And the values that he has shown do not demonstrate his being a Democrat. So it's one thing to call yourself a Democrat and another thing to be a Democrat and embrace our values.
All righty. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and make sure you tune in to the debate tomorrow evening, and everyone else have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jordan.